following is a GNC podcast production. Welcome to Geek Addicts, a pop culture podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Geek Addicts, the pop culture podcast. It has been a couple weeks since we've recorded now, so this is going to be a pretty interesting. I'm Bill. This is Matt. How you doing, Matt?
I'm doing all right. Can't complain.
Oh, that's good. It's been a bit. I know people who listen to our other shows know that at least somewhat what's been going on, but yeah. You just went on vacation.
Yep. I got back last Saturday night, I think it was. Yeah, we had a good time. Francis had a blast running around outside and doing stuff. We mostly were just at my wife's cousin's house. We camped out in their backyard. They got a wicked big backyard. It's kind of like not like wild, but like, you know, it's grown in. It kind of looks woodsy. So we camped out back there, and that was nice. It's actually really funny. The first night that we attempted to camp, so there's like a little crabapple tree just a little bit back from where our tent was, and I had gotten Frances to sleep. She was in the tent with us, and we were just chilling out. I think we were planning on like reading or something for a little bit, and then we start hearing something, and all of a sudden we hear like the unmistakable crunch of something biting into an apple. And like we kept hearing this over and over. We kept hearing like the shimmy, the sticks breaking, the things walking around. Cindy's freaking the fuck out. Like she thinks it's like a bear or fucking who knows what else. And ultimately, she ended up calling her parents because her parents live in the in her cousin's house, and she had them send out her brother with like these. It would take too long to explain, but they have these big rubber chickens, you know, the ones that make those like kind of sounds.
Gotcha.
And he comes out with one of those, and he's fucking with the fucking chicken, and the thing, whatever it was at the time, took off, and freaking Cindy's like scrambling. She's like, "All right, grab a blanket, grab the kid, we're going inside." She's freaking the fuck out. It ended up just being a little family of deer. Like we went and like checked it out, and I even told her like it was probably just deer because she tends to over exaggerate sometimes, and I was laughing at her. But
I like where that was going for a minute there because you guys are up in Maine, right?
Yeah.
So I was thinking like it's kind of like Maine. Okay, that's more of a open-minded state in a lot of ways. So I'm thinking like you're like, all right, they went in and brought up the thing, and I was expecting like a gun or something, but no, giant rubber chicken.
How do they have guns too? But
I was like, that's not where I thought this was going.
Well, her cousin and his family have like this little like ongoing feud with their next door neighbor. They're like some of the shit that I've heard about like the back and forth between them is fucking insane. But ultimately, they make it a point to annoy them as much as possible.
Gotcha.
So they got all these rubber chicken, and one of them is huge. It's like fucking half the size of my body. And when you squeeze it, it will literally do that squeaking sound for like 5 minutes straight. Jesus. So they will just like still squeeze it all the way out, and then they'll just put it in their window facing their neighbor's house.
Good old New Englander things.
Oh yeah, it's fucking wild. Those people are psychos. Like there was a story I was told at one point of like one of them like fucking threw a bunch of gasoline on her cousin, like ready to fucking set him on fire and shit. People are fucking wild.
Isn't it weird how New England is like, it's like an area, but like all of New England is so fucking different. Like Massachusetts is its own weird place. Connecticut's weird. And you go up to like Maine and New Hampshire, and they're just their own like psychos up there.
I've heard some fucking wild stories about people in Maine, man. You wouldn't even want to hear half of the shit I've heard.
It's funny how when people think New England, they immediately just think Massachusetts, but like in reality, it's a pretty diverse area of psychopaths.
Oh yeah, for sure. But
oh boy.
So you had some wisdom teeth out while I was gone.
Yep, I got my lower ones removed. The surgery was Pretty quick. Like it was the classic. You go in and see the worst part was they had to shove that like rubber block in my mouth to keep my mouth open. And my face was like so like because it hit the nerve like the week before pretty bad, and it was all swollen, and it was like at the point where it was like, okay, these things need to get out. So I could barely open my mouth as it was, so I had to like force it open. They shoved this fucking block, and that was the most painful part of the entire thing. But then, of course, they gave me the gas and the general anesthetic, and like 5 minutes later, I'm completely gone. But before I know it, it's like it's over. It's a weird feeling too, because it's like you kind of know they're picking around in there, but like you don't feel it.
Yeah.
And then like the next thing I know, it's like I'm awake, and they're like, "Okay, let's go. I'm gonna go get your sister." And it's like they just like out. Here's a baggie of stuff. Out the door you go. And I'm just like, "Oh, you're not gonna explain? Okay, bye. I guess."
Yeah.
Like I keep always forgetting like we're like post COVID world now, so it's like hospitals and stuff. They're like you're in and out. Like they don't even like grace you at all with any sort of like help. Basically, like they got Alex, and brought me. So we were on an upper floor, but there was a section of like the building that like you could walk out to ground level, and then the back section was like a lower level kind of situation. So we were parked down on the lower level, but they were like going to let Alex go get her car and come get me at the top. And Alex is like, "Okay, you're going to stay here so you don't fall down the stairs." And then she proceeded to almost fall down the stairs as she walked away. I was like, "Way to go,
Jesus.
Alex."
I'm still disappointed in her. That video.
The worst part was the best drugged out of my mind stuff was in the car while we were driving back, and of course she couldn't film during that. But apparently at one point we drove because we're right by Six Flags New England. We were driving past Six Flags, and I had looked over and I saw like the big drop tower thing like ride, and I kept referring to it as the Death Tower. Because I'd seen a documentary of the amount of times those things have like failed and crashed and been like extremely hazardous at parks. So I was like, "Hey, look, it's the Death Tower." I was like, "Those people are gonna probably die." And I was just like,
I was gonna say, you know what you should have done? It would have been really funny is if you had gotten a hold of Tommy ahead of time from Tommy's video game ride along.
Yeah.
If you had tried to figure out like a way to like have a call with him while he's driving and you're driving back from the fucking dentist, that would have been funny.
It would have been funny, but it would have been a nightmare for everyone involved.
Well, his episodes are usually like 15 minutes anyway, so it would have been
true.
It would have been a fun little.
See, I didn't even remember the Death Tower thing. Alex told me about that like a few days later, and I was like, "What? Like, when did this happen?" Apparently, too, like anytime I pass an American flag, I just scream out the car, "America, fuck yeah!" Which is great. Yeah. Then we got home, and I was still kind of that one video that exists, unfortunately, without any audio. You can see I'm fucking blazed out of my mind in it.
Oh yeah, I could definitely see it in your face. I just so badly wanted to hear what you're saying.
It probably wasn't that interesting because I had already been kind of past the weirdness. But yeah, we got home after that, and then Alex kind of hung around for like half the day just to make sure I didn't do anything stupid. I think we ended up watching Scott Pilgrim Takes Off again just because it was short and Alex hasn't seen it.
Yeah, it's a fun show.
Yeah, and then I didn't really get as much pain as I thought. Like they gave me like a fucking like smorgasbord of fucking drugs from the fucking pharmacy, and like half of them I didn't even use because it was just unnecessary. Like they gave me a bunch of like oxycodone. I was like, nope, I don't want to mess with that. I'm gonna just
that's
get rid of that.
Danger.
Mostly I took like the giant like ibuprofen tablets that were like this big. And yeah, it was over within like I think it took like 3 days. Like I think that entire week I just left early from work every day because I was like, yeah, I feel like shit.
Fair enough.
Because I only got 2 days off, and then I had to work the rest of the week.
Oof.
Yeah,
that's rough.
It took a while before I could eat solid food again.
Yeah, you probably got sick of instant potatoes and shit after a while.
I ate a lot of soup. A lot of soup.
At least there's a variety of different kinds of soup. You have some clam chowder.
I don't think I did because I think they were worried that the clam would be too much.
Fair enough. Yeah, you know what? That just reminded me when we went to Florida last January. There was this place in Universal, I don't even know if it was like actually a functioning restaurant or whatever, but there was like a building in the park that had like this big, huge, like painted side of the wall that just said Boston clam chowder. I'm like, all three of us were like, nope, wrong, false. It's not how you say it. That's
No,
not even what it's called.
it's New England clam chowder.
Nope, that's not even right.
No,
It's
what's it really
chowder.
called? Oh,
Chowder.
yeah, that.
Fucking chowder, dude. There's no R in chowder.
You ever had Manhattan? Have you ever had Manhattan style?
No, I don't think so.
It's just wrong. Like
Yeah.
it's where they use tomato instead of like milk, and it's like this.
Ugh.
It's like this is wrong on so many levels.
That's yeah, that's worth the death penalty right there.
I tried it once. I was like, nope, never again.
Yeah. And I tried to jump in for the stream you guys did while I was gone too. I was there for a bit.
Oh, the Q&A. Yeah, that got
Yeah.
weird. That got really weird really
No, I
fast.
enjoyed it. It was fun. I would have loved to been a part of it, but obviously I didn't have any equipment or whatever. So
Hmm.
um
Yeah, hopefully we do
oh
more of those in the future.
and what and whenever you said whatever about your accent, like, dude, you ain't got no fucking accent. You're like one of the most straight talking dudes I've ever met in my life. I have an accent.
Well, it's funny because I'll go down south and like the people will be like, "Ah, you're from New England, I see." And I'm just like, I guess.
Well, I guess people from further away would see it more, but I hear you talk, and I have other friends too that are like that who just for whatever reason just never developed like a strong accent. But
Well, I'm able.
I'm weird. I like have like this weird like hybrid thing where like I could speak very clearly if I'd like to, but usually I'm just relaxed. I'm like, fuck it, whatever.
Well, I mean, it comes out for me occasionally, usually when I'm drinking and like my
Oh yeah,
I'm not
that's the big
watching
one.
it. I'm not
Hmm.
watching what I say.
Yep.
Because the more it's basically like the more I drink, the more the R's start disappearing.
Yeah.
So,
It's if I'm inebriated or extremely pissed off, that's when it really rears its ugly face.
see the way you can tell that I'm definitely from New England is I'll occasionally drop like I use wicked more than I really should.
We all do.
In normal
It's fine.
conversation. Mad cool's another one. That's another New England phrase.
Wicked pissa.
Wicked pissa, mad cool, like just
Yeah.
weird words that just aren't used anywhere else. That's where
Yeah.
how you can definitely tell I'm from New England because I use wicked more than more than I should.
I'm almost out of beer. I gotta run down to the packy.
Yeah, wicked.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Yeah, it's been kind of crazy though. Just all the fucking world is whacked. That's all I'll
Yeah.
say.
No kidding. Fucking what did I say? Oh yeah, so before we left for our anniversary, we went to go see Deadpool and Wolverine. Fucking phenomenal.
I've heard.
I hope nothing has been spoiled for you because there's a lot of
I
danger for that in that movie.
I only got spoiled by one thing, and I guess spoiler warning here. I'm aware that Mr. Chris Evans appears, and it's not what you think. So,
Mhm.
like, I got that
Yeah, that
spoiled for
was
me,
it's like the
unfortunately.
best bait and switch in the movie.
I know, but yeah, I got that was the one spoiler I got thrown at me. But other than that, I don't know anything.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of great stuff. It's fantastic. And as much as I know that Ryan Reynolds has said that he's probably not going to be doing another Deadpool movie, I really hope that that's not the case because there's
From what
nobody else can fucking play him.
from what I hear, it's I guess he didn't get along with the Disney people.
Well, I don't even know if it's that because I mean I don't know if it's just him putting on airs because publicity or whatever. But I mean whenever he talks about it, he always says like, "Oh, they were actually really cool, like compared to what I thought it was going to be," and this and that. I think
Or
it's more
yeah.
so from what I've heard him say. I think it's more so like him and his family, like his family doesn't like it when he plays Deadpool,
Oh, interesting. It's like his most iconic role now.
which is ironic because I won't say in what form, but his wife and kids are in the movie too.
It's still funny that he met his wife on the set of Green Lantern, of all things.
That's so wild, so funny.
I mean, he wasn't the problem with that movie. That's all I'll say.
Hmm. No kidding. Um, But yeah, that was great. I had a great time. I was honestly one of those ones that made me really mad that fucking movies are expensive as they are, because I really wanted to go see it again. There's just no fucking way I can afford to.
It also single-handedly saved the Marvel films because they were in like a really bad slump there for a while.
Mm-hmm. No
Because
kidding.
they were like just like flop after flop, and it's all of a sudden this one comes out, it's the fucking highest grossing movie in a while, and I'm just like, yep, they
highest
fuck.
grossing highest grossing R-rated movie, yeah, domestically of all time.
Yeah, it beat Joker. I saw that.
Beat Passion of the Christ,
Yeah.
which is
The,
wild.
it's ironic that like the movie is such a when you break it down and look at them at that movie like just objectively, it is such a pandering like desperate like thing in reality, but because they did it so well and the fact that they basically got two of the most well recognized Marvel actors, which is hilarious because they're the two actors that weren't even affiliated with Marvel themselves.
Yeah,
Um,
completely separate from the MCU.
you put them in a movie and you fucking just make it one giant fan service thing. Basically, it single handedly saved superhero movies for a little bit, anyways.
It works though. I mean, I might have a level of recency bias with it, but I think this one is going to be in my top superhero movies for a very, unless something fucking wild comes out, yeah, in my lifetime, it's going to be holding. It's going to be in the top 3 regardless, like forever.
I mean, we still got to see. I mean, did you see Robert Downey Jr. is going to be Doctor Doom?
Mm-hmm.
This is, I said online, I'm like, this is either the smartest thing they've ever done or the dumbest thing they've ever done. Like, they're either playing 4D chess right now or they are desperate as fuck. So,
I think it might be a little bit of both. Like, it was
yeah.
definitely a fucking great move on their part, I think, but it was also a decision made out of desperation, because that was not the plan at all.
No, I saw that and I was like, holy fuck. Like this is gonna be either the we're gonna look back at this in like years and be like, this is the smartest thing ever, or this was the biggest mistake they ever made.
I mean, the only reason they did it is because the guy they had slotted for the main villain of like the next, like, this like big like build up to the next thing, got in trouble, the actor, so
Yeah.
they don't want him anymore.
Yeah, that's been
But
happening a lot lately.
yeah. Oh well,
Uh
what are you gonna do? Um so yeah, while we were up there, we mostly just kind of like hung out with family and did that stuff, but we did take a day for Cindy and I to go out and have like a little day trip to Bangor.
hmm,
And we went to was it the we went to a Books a Million, because there was a couple like Stephen King themed bookstores that we wanted to go to, but they're like privately owned. They're not like a business, like a corporate kind of thing. So it's not consistent about when they're open, and
hmm.
they weren't open when we went. So we ended up going to a Books a Million, which neither of us had ever been to one before, and the place is fucking huge. Um, and that was really cool. It's been so long since I've been able to just browse around a big ass bookstore like that. It was so nice. It's overdue. But it was cool. I got a Stephen King book. Cindy got she got one of those like Twisted Tales, like Disney books.
Hmm.
Um, and then we went out to lunch. We went to a place called the Oriental Jade. It's actually the Chinese restaurant that is the one in It is based off of.
Oh, cool.
Like I'm guessing you saw the new It movies.
It's been a while, but I did see them when they came out.
Yeah, with the Chinese restaurant they go to in the beginning of the second movie. That's the one.
Oh, okay.
So it's actually, I funny enough, because I kept being told it was like kind of like, mid tier, like not great but not horrible either. Honestly, the food there was way better than it was a lot better than the stuff that I'm used to eating for Chinese food around here. And the big ironic part, vast majority of the people working there white.
Yeah, that's very common. I've
It's
noticed.
like what the hell?
Well, I mean, let's be real. There's nothing Chinese about about Chinese food.
True, this is true.
Uh, yeah,
But it
it's
was fun.
funny. Like, so you said you went up to like Books a Million. Do they have big manga sections now, or?
They had a pretty sizable manga section. They had like a solid like 3 rows or so of manga. They had a decent comic section. as well. They had a whole like section dedicated to just Pokemon with all the manga and merch and stuff.
Sounds
A
about
bunch of
right.
like video game themed books and stuff too. Like they had all sorts of stuff.
Oh yeah, like I
Um,
know Barnes and Noble carries a ton of video game like art books now.
yeah, I saw they had the Dragon Quest art book there, and they had some of the Zelda encyclopedias and a bunch of other stuff too that I barely scratched the surface on. They had a ton.
Hmm.
But it was just so much fun just browsing. Like it's been so long since I've been able to just browse with like a big selection of different kinds of books. It was really nice.
It's crazy to me how big the manga sections are getting in like every bookstore now.
I love it. It's great.
I love it too. It's insane. Like, have you seen DC and Marvel are trying these new things where it's mostly DC so far, but they're taking like their specific comic runs and they're actually like squeezing them down to manga size and doing like these
Mhm.
little book versions of them.
Yeah, I think Xander's actually been reading a Spider-Man one of those.
Hmm.
I
I
don't know if it's like
saw
actual manga or if it is one of those, but I know he's been reading a Spider-Man manga book.
so there is a Spider-Man manga as well, but I'm not sure it might be this or that. But I know like for DC in particular, they took like say like Batman Hush, like the Hush storyline, and they
Hmm.
actually compressed it down into manga size. So it's like
Hmm.
a manga sized book rather than like the big traditional comic.
Yeah.
It's um it's an interesting tactic. Um I I kind of like it, but at the same time, it feels like they are so desperately trying to compete with manga now.
It's like just make better stories. That's
I
all
mean,
you really need to do. Or make it
they,
more affordable, Make it like a book-sized volume and not just
that's
like a magazine.
that's the problem is like the way comics are. There's just like because there's been some great storylines lately, but the way comics are made, it's like it's just impossible for them to be able to pump out the same quality at the same price as manga. Because like
Yeah.
manga has like that benefit of like usually the author is also the artist, or they
Hmm.
have at least they have one artist on the side that does all the work. Plus, it's usually not colored. With
Yeah.
like a comic, there's usually one writer. Then they have like a team of like every couple of issues they'll change artists, go back and forth so they can keep up with the demand. Plus, there's an inker, a colorer, a letterer, like all these different people involved in making comics that it's just such a much more expensive thing to do, and at the same time, it's like they only give you so little at such an expensive price compared to what you get from manga.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, yeah, like we can say like manga artists do have like one artist, quote unquote, but they have assistants, like how many fucking shadow clones Masashi Kishimoto's assistant had to fucking draw?
True,
Like,
true. It's at least though there's like one consistent style for the most part.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
The other thing too is the barrier for entry between manga and comics is it's like night or day.
Yeah.
Like a manga, like yeah, like One Piece is kind of intimidating, but at least it
Volume one is
has
still volume one.
yeah, it has a start point.
Hmm.
Fucking comic books, holy fuck! Like when I read someone asked me like, "What's a good like Superman story to read?" Like starting point, I'm just like, uh, about that. Um, I could give you many places to start.
Well, that's why I'm like kind of like I've been dabbling in the X-Men comics, like the old ones. And I do want to keep reading those because I like been reigniting my love for the X-Men. I actually rewatched all of the X-Men movies, and for the first time in some cases because there was a bunch I hadn't seen. Um, and like I just been loving it, and I have like a little tablet. It's like I think it's not quite as big as my laptop screen. It's maybe like three-quarters the size. But I was thinking about just like because I got like the little Kindle app on there. I was thinking about just getting like the big like collected volumes of the X-Men series and just getting those digitally. Because like I can't read comics or manga or whatever like very well on my phone, but with like a tablet that's like say like yay big, like that's a lot more manageable for me. And like if I'm just laying in bed and I want to, read something or whatever. And I actually started reading Dr. Slump again, and I plan on going through the whole thing. But yeah, I definitely plan on getting some of those digital collected volumes for X-Men because I want to read through those.
Yeah, the comics are fun. It's so much work to like really get into. Like it is such an intimidating thing, especially if you're one of those guys that wants to read like both sides of the fence, like Marvel and DC. Oh my god. But manga just like infinitely is so much easier to get into.
Well, that's why I like the way that because I've been looking into it a little bit, and I like the way that Marvel's been doing the Epic collections because it's just taking like it's pretty much keeping it consistent to one canon from what I can tell. And it starts with like for X-Men, for instance, like it starts all the way back in the 60s with the originals, and it has like all of the like like volume issues like 1 through 20 something or whatever. And then there'll be like a couple of issues from like there will be like an X-Men crossover with Avengers, and they'll throw that in there, or there'll be a crossover with Fantastic Four, and they'll throw that in there. So like it keeps it consistent, and it keeps it up along the timeline, which is why like I feel like based on what I'm seeing, it seems like Marvel stuff is has an easier barrier to entry than DC does, which does upset me a little bit because I always tended to veer more DC, but I have developed an appreciation for Marvel.
The big difference, the thing with the Marvel's benefit is they're a younger company overall, because DC's been around for a lot longer, but also Marvel has never fully rebooted their universe. Like they've always had their mainline universe has always been the same. Yeah, there's been cosmic retcons and stuff, but that happens in everything. DC, on the other hand, reboots their universe. It seems like every fucking 3 years now. Like they're obviously like all the classic like pre-crisis stuff. Like that's all like all over the place. Then there was the famous Crisis on Infinite Earths where they rebooted everything into the universe that most of us remember from like our childhood, like from like the 80s into the basically I think it was from like 86 up until 2011 is when they did the next reboot. But that was like the iconic like universe where like all the stuff that we remember, like the death of Superman, Batman getting his back broken, Green Lantern going crazy, like all the iconic dark 90s moments, all that fun stuff. Pretty much every iconic death in DC happened in that period. And then there was the New 52, which lasted from like 2011 to 2016, which was just a kind of a shit show. They didn't plan it out well at all. And then they've kind of slowly reverted back into their new thing they've done since then. It started in 2016 with the Rebirth Initiative. And then they haven't really quote unquote rebooted, but they basically have made like they changed the continuity now where it's kind of like it's like this open continuity now where they can decide what's canon and what's not when they feel like it. So
all right,
they've kind of done away with all the New 52 stuff, but at the same time, it happened at the, comics are weird.
Yeah,
they're like
definitely
reboots. Reboots didn't happen. We're back to this weird open continuity shit.
It just kind of stinks that the universe, the whatever that I tended to like more is the one that's way more complicated to get into with the source material.
Yep. I mean, me being longtime DC fan, it's been a trip. I mean, I stopped reading comics during the New 52 because my two favorite characters were always Superman and the Flash, and I'm convinced that they were two of the most butchered during the New 52.
Gotcha.
Mostly because like that around that period of time, like the higher ups at DC really hated legacy characters for whatever reason. Like they basically got rid of all the legacy characters and brought back all the classic like 80s heroes. Like they brought back Barry Allen as the Flash, like Hal Jordan as the Green Lantern. And which is fine. I mean, like we can have continuity stuff like that, but then they like just kind of did away with all of the classic characters that we grew up with from the 90s.
Yeah.
And I mean, because you always kind of forget, like, Barry Allen had been dead for so long by that, because he died during the original Crisis,
Mhm.
and Wally West was the Flash for pretty much most of like this generation's lives. And then they brought Barry Allen back, and everyone was like, "I don't get what the hype was." And then they like were desperate to make him interesting, so they just started giving him Wally traits, and everyone was like, "No, that's not how you do this."
Yeah. I don't know. Just the whole like reboot. I mean, you can only reboot something so many times before it just gets old.
Well, a lot of times with reboots too, they like try to change things just to change them, and it's like they ignore the fact that something was popular beforehand for a reason.
Mhm.
Like I hated like Superman during period of time because they just made him like super angry for no reason, and like he did not feel like Superman.
Mhm.
They also like they would like subvert shit just for the sake of subverting it. Like famously they chose not to have him. They chose to make Lois Lane not his love interest, and instead they had him get with Wonder Woman, which is the most boring fucking thing ever.
It's weird.
Well, it only works in certain continuities. It's just a thing where it's like, yay, we got the most powerful guy and the most powerful girl, put them together, and what happens? It's boring.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know you like Superman, but I've always kind of seen him as pretty white bread, so
You got to read the right stories.
it's fair.
Like with
That's fair.
when it comes to Superman, it's like you really need whenever people like because I get that a lot of people like Superman's kind of boring. I'm like it's like you need the right story. Like you got to read like All Star Superman, for example. Like that's one of the greatest Superman books of all time.
That's fair. I
Um,
mean, my perception of Superman is shaped by the movies and the old animated series. So,
well, the animated series was good.
well, I mean, like the animated series, like universe, not just Superman's. I mean, like
Oh,
Justice League,
okay,
Batman, all that.
yeah.
So,
I mean, the DC
fucking
animated
Crypto the
universe
Super Dog. Remember that shit?
was a good show.
I like that. Fucking Super Dog, Bat Dog, fucking was awesome.
And the Electric Cat, I remember that for some reason. Um, yeah, DC animation still is pretty top tier. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, for sure. That's where I feel DC performs the best. Although I still really like the Arrowverse, like the CW stuff. I need to catch up on that at some point. I mean, I'm caught up with Marvel now. I mean, I did just start diving back into One Piece, which is going to be a
Yeah,
long haul because I'm on the Wano arc though, so I'm on the most recent completed dub arc. So it's
nice.
still going to take a while to get through because it's like 200 episodes, but
Yeah. Um, I will say though, if you're watching all the Arrowverse or the CW shows, um, the best like live action Superman thing ever is Superman and Lois from that
mhm.
the CW shows. So I highly recommend that one because I think that's probably that show understood the character better than anybody.
Mhm. That's fair. Well, I mean, once I actually dive into that, I'm gonna end up watching them all, even Supergirl, which I was not a fan of when it first came out, but I'll suck it up. I did it for Marvel. I could do it for DC.
You watched She-Hulk and saw the twerking and went, okay, cool, Marvel, that's very nice.
Yeah, that was bizarre. That was a weird show. I mean, I didn't hate it, the show, but it was bizarre.
They were pandering
Not what I was
so hard.
expecting at all. Oh,
Oh
for sure.
boy.
Um,
Speaking of
it.
we were talking what were we talking about? Oh yeah,
Also,
talking about One Piece. Did you
mhm.
see the stills for the One Piece came out?
Yeah, how they were saying it's gonna be like more manga accurate with like the violence and stuff.
It's gonna be like that, but I heard it's also gonna be a lot more abridged in a lot of ways, like to make it more accessible for new people.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, they stretched it out so much in the original because they were trying to keep up with them, keep pace with the manga and not add too many like original filler stuff.
Just,
So
just,
I totally understand why they're doing that.
just be careful what you say. She's always watching.
But no,
Anyways,
I totally understand. It's perfectly reasonable. If there was a series that needed a Kaiified version, it was One Piece.
yeah,
Although I definitely think Naruto is a high contender as well.
yeah, Naruto, especially Shippuden. Holy fuck. Um,
Yeah,
that
at
being
least with
said, though,
the original Naruto, you can just kind of get to the Sasuke retrieval arc, finish that up, and say, okay, on to Shippuden.
yeah, I will say I looked at the animation stills for the One Piece. I still think that's a dumb name, but that's besides the point. Um, it's very interesting looking at a different studio's take on it.
Yeah, for sure.
Because
I'm
I'm so
definitely interested
used
in seeing how that plays out.
because I'm so used to toys like style that like it'd be like if another studio did Dragon Ball, it would just look weird, but also
Yeah,
interesting.
I'd love to see fucking Wit do a Dragon Ball movie. That'd be fucking sick.
Hmm.
Or fucking
Yeah.
Mappa.
Let the poor guys rest. They already have fucking so many. They're I just found out they're doing the new Ranma reboot.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm like, I saw the Ranma thing and I was like, oh, that looks sick. Who's doing it? I'm like, Mappa. Holy fuck. They're never gonna be able to sleep.
Well, they got to fill in that void left by Attack on Titan, so they got to
I
put something
I
there.
I thought that was gonna be One Punch Man season 3, but now people don't even know if that still exists.
Well, I mean, it took a while for season 2 to come out. It wouldn't surprise me if it took a while for 3, but
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was confirmed, so we'll get it at some point.
It was confirmed, but we haven't heard anything about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's not unheard of, so we'll see.
Hmm.
So I was texting you about it a little bit while I was up in Maine, but my original plan was I was going to bring my Switch up and I was going to play Grim Fandango on the rides.
Hmm.
So for the game club, and somewhere between talking about that and actually leaving, I decided to bring my Vita instead of my Switch. Um, because I think I mentioned it before, but I just feel like the Vita is just the most convenient travel handheld.
It's better for
Like
cars because
it
the
has.
Switch,
Hmm.
as much as I love the Switch, that thing's unwieldy after a while.
Yeah, it's big, it's the battery life isn't fantastic, it's fine, but it's just not the most travel friendly system. The Vita has a solid battery life. It looks nice. It has a wide variety of newer and classic games,
Hmm.
especially RPGs, which was great. I just feel like it's the better choice. So I ended up playing a game that I had never played before. It was a game that I downloaded a couple years ago, actually, and never really gave it a second thought. I was intended to play it, but never got around to it. But it's a tactical RPG called Sayuki Journey West, where it's a tactics game, but it's based around the story of Journey to the West, and it's pretty fucking fun, honestly.
Hmm.
And I've been doing a little bit of like, because like whenever I hit a part where I was like, oh, I need to like look this up or whatever. Apparently, this game is like practically unknown.
It's very obscure. Like I had known about it, and it's one of the PS1 RPGs I don't own. And the reason I don't own it is because it's expensive as shit right now.
Yeah, see, I didn't even know. I just happened to be a couple years ago scrolling through the Vita store, and I was just because I mean at the time and still even now, I don't know how long the Vita store is gonna last. So I'm trying to fucking get as much decent games off of that as I can while it's there. I don't want to screw up like I did with the 3DS store. Um, so I was just kind of like, I would just throw on however much money, and I would look through and I'd say, oh, okay, that looks like a good game, or this one's has good ratings or whatever, and it's not very expensive, doesn't take up a whole lot of space. So it's just kind of collecting up a bunch of classic games. And that was one of the ones I found, and I didn't see it on any lists or anything, but I was just like, oh, Sayuki, that's Journey to the West. I'm just gonna throw that on there. It was only like
Hmm.
$6 or something. It was cheap. Um, and I didn't find out it was a tactical RPG until right before I left on the trip. I was like, oh shit, like I've really been enjoying tactics games lately. I'm gonna play this for the first
Hmm.
time. And it's actually really cool. I've been enjoying the hell out of it. It's a pretty linear game. Like it's not like exploration or anything like that, but um, it, I'm having trouble like really describing it. It looks nice. It plays nice. it's an interesting take on the Journey to the West story.
Hmm. I think
Um,
it's based off of something like a manga or something.
I couldn't tell you there. I just know like based on what I've looked up on it, it just says it's loosely based on Journey to the West. Um, but it's been weird because it's so like unknown. Like I can't find like anything. Like anytime I have like a question about the game and I go to Google it, nobody has an answer because apparently very few people have played it. But it's super competent game. It's really fun. If you like
Hmm.
attack, if you like a good classic tactics game, that's definitely one I suggest people try.
Yeah, it's one of those. Koi made it before they merged with Tecmo.
Yep.
Yeah, it just says it's loosely based off of Journey to the West.
Hmm. So it's not like a one-to-one adaptation or anything, but it uses the same characters and stuff. I think it tweaks the names in some cases. Son Goku is still Son Goku, but
Hmm.
um, no, it's been
There
pretty cool.
was yeah. It's one of many games based off of the concept over the years because there's actually more of them I'm looking through this now.
Hmm.
Um, it was a late PS1 game too. That's probably why it kind of went on over. It was overlooked because it came out 2001.
Yeah, well, by the time it came out, we already had the PS1 version of Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy 7 and 8, and fucking all sorts of other highly acclaimed RPGs that people were putting their time into. So
Then the tactical RPG hadn't really taken off over here yet.
when did Final Fantasy Tactics come out?
So that came out before that, but that was like kind of the one outlier because even Tactics was a bit of a slow burn when it came to RPGs, like because the reason why the Black Label version is so sought after is because there wasn't a lot printed of the original Black Label.
Hmm.
It kind of like it was kind of a dud when it first came out, and then it like got a few people played it and realized, hey, this is really good, and it kind of was a surprise like hit on its like second wave, and then that's where the greatest hits re-release came out, and that's the much easier version to find.
Gotcha.
But yeah, Tactics is kind of the one of the few outliers because I mean we still hadn't got Fire Emblem by this point. Um, the Shining series had kind of died off. Arc the Lad was super obscure at
Hmm.
the time. Still is kind of obscure, honestly.
It's a game I got to look into buying because I know you recommended it after I mentioned Sayuki to you a couple
I
weeks ago.
I always recommend Arc the Lad too, although I'm not sure if that's still on the store or not. Which is
I'd
a
have to look. I haven't looked yet.
I've noticed that a lot of games are slowly disappearing from the store. So
Yeah, which is a bummer because I what sucks is I had J Star's Victory Versus on on my Vita for a while, and then I got a new memory card, and there was a whole like debacle, like the account that I had for it, I couldn't access anymore because it was my old PS3 account,
yeah,
and I couldn't for the life of me tell you what my password was, so I ended up having to make a new one, and so I wasn't able to re-download it, and that's not on the store anymore. So if I want to play that, I have to get a physical copy.
yeah. There's a few games on there that are lost. Like I think Gex 2 is no longer available, but Gex 1 and 3 are for some reason.
Weird.
Um, there's a few that are missing here and there, unfortunately.
But I got a nice little collection of my Vita so far. I still have about 11 gigs free, so I still have some more room.
Hmm.
Um, so
What
hmm,
What's weird is though the PS3 store still has most of these games. I feel like the Vita store, they're slowly pulling games just to the point where they're gonna slowly pull games until there's basically nothing left, and then they're gonna close it.
yeah, it seems like the strategy they would go for is just pull all the games that people like the most, and then by that point, no one will care if they shut down the store or not.
Yeah, they're like, "What are you upset about? There's nothing here anymore. Bye." Um, the PS3 store will probably stick around longer though, because I'm amazed it's still up. To be honest, period. But
Yeah, I'm still a little butthurt that they stopped doing like free online after PS3, but whatever.
it made sense. Their security was very bad because it was they.
True.
I mean, you remember the PSN outage? That was a big a big deal.
Yeah, one of many. Happened
I
a
mean,
lot.
I got a free. Well, I remember the big outage was the huge one because they gave us all free games for that one.
Hmm. I don't
I
remember if
got
I got a game for that or not.
I got Infamous out of that deal because Infamous was like the big game they offered because they only gave they had like a selection of it was a bunch of you basically you got 2 free PS3 games and you get 2 free PSP games
Mm-hmm.
um at the time. And I remember because like the PSP games I was like whatever on, but the big PS3 games um there was a whole bunch of them, but I remember Infamous was a big one, Little Big Planet, and I think I got Wipeout HD. Like was my other
Mm,
game. It was cool.
nice. I dabbled a little bit in Little Big Planet because my cousin used to play it. So when I went over there, I'd play it with her. But I don't know, it never really caught me. I
It's
don't know
it's
why.
a it's a cool platformer. It's more about the creation aspect and making stuff.
That's fair.
If you're
Um,
talented enough for that, that is. If you're not creative like some people, it really ends up just being an average platformer.
mhm, makes sense. But yeah, unfortunately, after we got back from the trip, Xander's 2DS shit the bed, and just stopped turning on,
Mhm.
which is a huge bummer because he can't find his like DS Lite that he has, and that's where like because he has the same like little DS chip that I have, but he also has like the Game Boy Advance version of that too, and they're both in that DS, and he can't find it.
It'll turn up eventually. They always do.
Yeah, well, that's happened with the 2DS for the longest time. That thing was lost for like 2 years, and then we found it, I think like 6 months ago, something like that. Like not that long ago, and yeah, just stopped working. So, oh
It's
well.
weird. Yeah, I don't know. That's it. These systems are some of them last forever, and then other ones they just go. It's like that's it.
The same thing happened to my Advance SP a few years back. Although I'm convinced my brother broke it. Like, I let my little brother borrow it, and then he gave it back, and it wouldn't turn on anymore. You motherfucker.
I think mine still has a charge. I haven't charged in like 4 years, but it probably still has a charge.
I'm pretty sure when we did our Game Boy Advance episode, you turned it on.
I probably did.
If I
Oh
remember
man.
right. But um oh yeah, and while we were in Maine, we also went to the hell is it called? Mount Hope Cemetery. It's the cemetery that they filmed that scene in Pet Cemetery
Oh yeah.
with the funeral for the kid. That was
Hmm.
pretty cool. We actually saw like the SK Tours van pull up to a grave. We didn't see what the grave was. I'm really curious about what it was. I'm wondering if it's either one from Pet Cemetery or if it's the one from the Dark Half,
That'd
which would be
be
kind of
really
cool.
funny if like they're doing a tour through there and you just like completely fuck up by pretending to mourn a grave
Yeah,
right in the middle. It's like, do you guys mind?
I was
You
trying
see
to
we're busy here.
I was trying to convince Cindy to just kind of like join the group and just not say anything. It
Yeah.
was like it'd be great.
Oh man. That's so, that's so weird doing a tour of a cemetery
Well,
on a
it's a Stephen King tour.
Oh, okay. I guess
So
that makes
like
sense.
because that was where they filmed Pet Cemetery, that's one of the stops. Or filmed at least the scene of Pet Cemetery. But because Bangor is the city that Derry is based off of from It.
Gotcha.
So like there's a lot of places around that are just straight up lifted from real life and planted in the It book. So there's a lot of that stuff. There's also like I think one of their stops is the rest stop from Maximum Overdrive.
Nice.
It's a bunch of other stuff too. I've wanted to go on that tour for a while, but it's one of those things you have to book like super in advance because they only do like 2 tours a day and they're super popular.
Hmm.
Oh, hold on. Can we pause this real quick?
Yeah.
Okay, mother's calling me.
And we're back.
Yep. Sorry about that, folks. My grandmother had a little surprise for me. She finally found a little red wagon for my daughter, which I've been on the lookout for since she was born. And you'd be surprised how fucking hard it is to find one that isn't like $200.
Nice.
So I'm super excited about that.
Like metal one and everything, or
It's wood, but still, it's it's pretty classic looking. So
Yeah, nice.
yeah.
Uh, where were we before? I kind of brain farted.
Were we talking about the Stephen King tour thing, or
We had just wrapped up on that, and we were starting the next convo. But I forget what
I'm
it
not
was.
sure. Not sure.
Oh boy.
um,
So I was at the bookstore actually recently, and I swear to God, like a tornado went through the manga section.
really?
I was like, holy shit! Like stuff was just fucking everywhere. I feel like it's still summer vacation, so I feel like a bunch of kids came through and just went to town in there.
Oh, really? Yeah, it makes sense.
It's
And the
always fun
summer
when
is
you.
coming to the end too, so they're probably looking to grab what they can while the opportunity is there.
It always makes me laugh too because you'll go through and like you'll see like the plastic from like the sealed mangas just ripped off on the floor, and you're just like, "That's great."
Mm-hmm.
It's like I wonder what they were looking at,
Boobies.
or gore, or gore.
Yeah, either or.
There's only ever two reasons they were wrapped.
Yeah. Um. So yeah, I don't know. I've just been kind of bumming around trying to get everything situated. I was telling you off camera, but but Brad, my uncle, came home yesterday, so we're getting everything together for him, and it's pretty much how we spent our week is just getting everything ready. And um, I was worried that some of like the big group activities and stuff that I had planned for the community, like the watch parties and the streaming and stuff, I would have to be put on hold. But it seems like he's well enough to the point where I'd be able to set time aside for that. So that's good.
That's good.
Yeah, he's it's definitely it's weird though because it's like he's different now. Like he's not like fucked up or anything, but like I feel like the brush with death and his extended stay in the hospital has like really kind of changed his perspective, and he seems a lot different now.
That tends to happen from what I've seen. It'll probably be a bit before he gets back to somewhat normal.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's still adjusting to having the one leg and everything. So
Yeah,
and it's not going to be until February until he's healed and built up enough to be fitted for a prosthetic. So,
yeah, it's gonna be a bit.
but he's determined. He told me yesterday he's looking at it like a job, and he plans to be um ready. Like he obviously he said like my days of climbing ladders and shit are done, but I'd like back to be doing small jobs by the spring. So you know
That's good. That's always the good sign when they're determined and ready to go. So
yeah, for sure. And he's just happy to be home at this point, being in a regular fucking chair and not having fucking alarms going off every time he tries to get up.
yeah,
Yeah, he was done with that shit.
I can imagine. Oh man.
Having real food again.
Yeah, I know what that's like. Uh,
But yeah, and they still won't give us a fucking answer about whether or not he's actually diabetic. Because it seems at this point that the diabetic symptoms were being caused by the infection,
hmm,
but they won't give us a definite fucking answer. Because he's taking like the tiniest fucking minuscule, like barely anything amount of insulin at this point. So it's like
hmm.
it seems to me like he doesn't actually have it. It was just the infection fucking up his body. But
It's definitely something I'll still watch though for a bit, just in case.
no,
But
for sure. But you'd think having him for 2 months, you'd be able to figure it out.
you'd think, but God, the world in the last couple of years really fucked up a lot of parts of society.
That's true. That's true. I
Uh,
just don't want him to have to go without all his favorite foods. It's like, oh, no potatoes and all this. Well, fuck, shepherd's pie is like one of his favorite fucking meals.
yeah,
Not to mention beer. He's a man
yeah,
who loves beer.
like many of us.
Mm, but oh well, he's
So
getting
it's
there.
so it's actually kind of funny. Going back into like we were talking like Netflix and stuff earlier. Have you noticed how many animes are on Netflix now?
I know it's pretty wild. I still feel like Hulu has the better selection, but
Well,
Netflix has definitely been up in their game.
Hulu got the benefit of like the deal with Viz, so they're getting all the Viz stuff. Um, Netflix though, it's like they're producing a lot. Well, they're funding a lot on their own lately.
Yeah, like the Netflix originals and stuff.
Originals, some of
Yeah, well,
those. Uh, I still remember when they did a Neon Genesis Evangelion, and they put Netflix original, and everyone was like, "What the fuck is this? Like this thing's older than
well,
Netflix is."
the conflict, the concept of fucking Netflix original animes is just ridiculous because Netflix is not a Japanese based company, and
No,
all anime is inherently Japanese. So
they're just funding it basically at this point.
yeah, I mean even fucking JoJo Part 6 is considered a Netflix original. So
They paid the bills, so that's why they get the word
yeah,
up there.
they paid for it to be made. They didn't actually make it.
I mean, I'll give them a pass on those, but like the old ones, like Evangelion, that's older than Netflix is as a concept. like
Mhm.
like that one was a little weird. It's like if they got like Cowboy Bebop. Actually, is the Cowboy Bebop anime on there? I don't think it
I
is. I know they
don't
had the
know.
I know they had the live action, but imagine if they stuck a Netflix original on that and be like, wait a minute here.
Yeah, well, they had no part in that, so that would be like them fucking slapping their logo on Yu Hakusho, the anime, like that. No, that's not.
Which is on there
You
now,
didn't do
I
that. You
believe.
didn't. Yeah, I know. Yu Hakusho is one of those weird ones where like sometimes it'll be available everywhere, and then it won't be. It'll just get taken down off like everything, and then all of a sudden it's back on everything again. Like
Yeah, it's
I
weird
gotta
too
think.
because then like Full Metal, like they've pulled pretty much Full Metal everything except the live actions off of Netflix.
Yeah. Well, it just seems like every time Netflix has something good, they're like, oh well, we don't have that anymore.
I
See
also
ya.
find it amusing that they have all the Rurouni Kenshin like live actions, but none of the animated stuff.
Yeah, it's I don't know the way licensing is weird.
Well, Rurouni Kenshin's weird now because the old anime, the only way you can watch it is on Hulu, but that's the shit dub. Um, the original, the good dub is just gone now because Crunchyroll dropped it in favor of the reboot.
It's okay. I got it on my hard drive.
I got the uh, I got the box set, so
Yeah, and they have the new one coming out on Crunchyroll, so I mean that's something. I like the old Kenshin voice and the old Kenshin music
yeah,
more.
the music's one thing. Like Richard Casino, I think his name is. Like he just kind of fit that role pretty well.
Mm, yeah. Um. But yeah,
But
I don't know.
did
I
we talk
plan to.
about? Oh, go on.
Oh no, go on.
I was gonna say, did we talk about Kineticon? How me and Alex went to Kineticon the last episode we recorded?
Uh, had you gone at that point?
That was last month, so I don't remember honestly.
Well, you must have gone. I think we might have touched on it a little bit, but I knew that you had your whole episode on it on GNC, so we probably didn't go deep on it.
Hmm. I was laughing because I was thinking about how they had all the we were talking voice actors and they had all the VAs at Kineticon and um Bryce Pappenbrook was there. And
Mhm.
holy fuck, there was kind of lines, but he had a fucking like queue just to meet him.
Oh, I bet. I can imagine. He fucking blew up in the past 10 years. He's like one of like the most sought after voice actors now for anime.
It was really funny though because you had Bryce Pappenbrook right there, and then they put the Bluey actors like right next to him, so it's like all of the most popular, the three most popular actors that were there just were in this one corner. It was a fucking madhouse. I was like, holy fuck, they did not think this through. They should have put Bryce on one side and them on the other, so at least space it out a little.
Yeah, right. Jesus. Can I imagine? You got all the Bluey fans on one side and all the Attack on Titan fans on the other side. It's just
Bluey is surprisingly popular. Well, I mean, it's not that surprising. I get it, but it's not something I'd watch personally.
yeah. Well, I mean, you don't have kids, so I don't really blame you there. I never would have
I,
watched it either if I didn't have kids.
I mean, a lot of parents do kind of like it though. Like my buddy Josh over at Still Loading, he's a big fan.
Yeah, I mean it's not terrible as far as kids shows go. I like it a hell of a lot more than Little Einsteins, to tell you that much.
I
My
don't know
daughter
what that
fucking
is.
loves that show. It was from like the mid to late 2000s, I think. It was a show that was like supposed to like kind of get kids more into like classical music and like art, like
Okay.
actual art. And it would, teach them about like I mean I don't know much about it, but like different like kinds of music and like the technical terms for music and stuff like that. But it's just such a bizarre series. Yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't. It's like kind of weird to watch. I can't even describe it. It gets really old really quick. And my little sister was obsessed with it when she was little, and now my daughter is obsessed with it. So I watched it far more than any sane adult should.
Is it like on that same level of what the fuck as like the Teletubbies were?
I wouldn't say it's as bad as that,
Okay.
because it's not like incomprehensible like Teletubbies. Like you see what they're trying to do with the Einsteins, and I get it. Yeah, I totally understand like wanting to introduce things like classical music and like real quote unquote art to the younger generations, but it just gets real old real fast.
See, we had it good back in the day. Like we had like Thomas the Tank Engine. Like that was a good show.
Hmm.
Like nowadays, I see the shit that kids watch. I'm like, what is this?
Hmm. That fucking Uncle Grandpa or whatever the fuck that shit is.
Cartoon Network's just stoner TV at this point. I swear.
Really is.
Some of
I
those
think Adventure Time started that, I think.
Adventure Time, the Gumball show, like
Yeah,
all that
Xander was
shit.
obsessed with Gumball for a while. Fucking
I mean, it started
wasn't
kind of
horrible, but
yeah, it started kind of earlier because I mean there was like the show. Alex loves this show still, but like that fucking the Chowder show.
that was the show that really started it. I remember when that came out, and I watched like one episode of it. I was like, "This is fucking stupid," and then I stopped watching cartoons because
See,
that was like all that kind of show is all they were playing from that point onward, and I just ugh.
Alex loves that show. You just set off the Alex the Alex alarm there, but yeah, she like still religiously likes that show, and I have no idea why, but that's all her. I guess it's
Mhm.
her kind of humor.
You need to steal some of those fucking Macho Man Randy Savage clips from Aaron. Those
Yeah,
little sound bites. And just fucking, oh yeah.
she just record the ones Alex does and just use those.
Yeah, you could do that too.
Oh boy,
Should just be like the over looming presence over all of your shows.
just just her screaming, "I don't sound like that." It's like yes, you do.
Shit.
She hasn't done that in a while. Oh boy, her new thing is her cat that just eats everything.
Yeah, yeah. I was listening. I don't remember what episode it was. I think it was the PS1 racing one that you did a couple weeks ago. And like it was
Yeah,
just every 5 seconds, he was just like, "Pooh, stop eating that."
yeah.
Which I get because our cat has this weird obsession with plants. He's always eating our fucking plants. And this is like half the reason why I'm always telling my wife, like, no more fucking plants. We don't need any more fucking plants in the house. Cat's just gonna eat them, and then it gives him the shits, and then I gotta wash his ass. It's a whole fucking process. I just get the fucking plants out of here. If
See,
anything, if we're gonna have any plants, get some fucking mint plants or something to keep the ants out. We got like an old farmhouse; they just get right in. It's fucking annoying.
Alex's cat just eats like stuff that's not food, like the styrofoam gym mats and stuff, and I don't know.
Jesus Christ,
Oh man.
ridiculous. Cats are weird.
Yep, they
Yeah.
are.
I mean, I like my cat, but goddamn, he can be a little bit too clingy sometimes. It's weird when cats are clingy like that because it's not. I feel like it's kind of like against cat nature, but it might be because he was around dogs so much when he was a kitten,
Hmm.
so
I
he's
just
like kind
remember.
of like, hmm?
I remember when he climbed me that one time.
Oh, you're not the first, and you certainly won't be the last.
Yeah, he got like a halfway up, and then he didn't know what to do, so he was just stuck there.
He does that to Xander's dad like every time he comes to pick him up. It's
Yeah.
super funny.
I remember the time we were chilling on your couch in the trailer, and he just jumped over our shoulders and was like, "Whoa." I was like, Jesus.
Yeah. I still remember the fucking. I think it was like the first time you came over to our apartment to hang out. And like I left the room for some reason, and I came back, and you had your phone out pointing it at him. Like, you taking a picture of my cat? He's like, yeah.
Like, it's a cat. It's like Alex wanted to see.
He's got a mustache.
He does.
And no tail.
He's a silly one.
Yeah, he looks like a little fucking like ferret.
Yeah.
Or a ferret.
Oh man.
Like a really big guinea pig or something.
There's the car. It is officially a Geek Addicts episode now.
Yep. Well, we haven't heard them as much because it's actually, believe it or not, it's not bad in here right now, temperature wise. So I don't need the windows open with the fan. So
that's good.
It blocks out a little bit more sound than we've had in the past few months.
That's good.
So,
yeah,
that's nice.
Other than that, I think we've kind of covered everything. We'll kind of try to get back into real direction, content with direction going in the future once our schedule gets back on track. But I figured this
regularly scheduled programming.
Regularly scheduled nonsense. That's what I like to call our podcasting stuff.
About right.
It's part of the Superpod way, where we're all kind of chaos.
Mm-hmm. I feel like you're just like the rock that keeps everybody centered. you're like the gravitational core that all the chaos just kind of floats around.
I like to just be the guy that's like, guys, let's all relax.
Everyone needs a straight man.
Yeah. Yes, we do. But I like our community. We've built a good group of people over there.
Yeah, for sure. I enjoy it. I like interacting with the other people in the Discord and stuff, and streams and whatever. So
good old boss man Aaron. He doesn't like being referred to as boss man Aaron, but he's boss man Aaron to us.
The fearless leader.
He's gonna kill us. But that's fine. But yeah, I figured we got a good hour out of this. It's a good place to cut it off for now. Once again, guys, thanks for joining us on Geek Addicts. You can find Geek Addicts on all the major podcasting platforms, particularly Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And be sure to check us out over on the Superpod network of podcasts. That's superpodnetwork.com. I think it's .com.
It is.
.net. Okay. superpodsnetwork.com. And you can find a whole bunch of awesome shows, blogs, videos, all sorts of stuff, including shows like Superpod Saga, Super Ghost Radio, Retro Rehab, A Novel Console, Tommy's Video Game Ride Along, Fine Time, Gaming Together, The Elder Trolls, Remember 64, Friday Night Gamecast, all the GNC shows. I believe that's Bar Silence. And I believe that's everyone. Other than that, a great group of people. Be sure to check them all out. And until next time, guys, we will see you all later.
Have a good one.